This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Oh, welcome back. We are social creatures. We crave connection. We're all about relationships. Now imagine taking a look at those relationships, all of them in our lives, and connecting it to energy and what you might pull from that. Maybe the insight connected to the energy. Maybe you have a relationship not really working that great right now. Probably an energetic reason why it's not. Maybe you're ignoring some of the energetic signs and all of that. We're going to dig into that today, relationships and energy, with somebody who is a psychic intuitive, spiritual medium, energy worker, healer, and so much more. Tricia George is back on the program with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Steve?
I'm excited. And I truly mean that. Where we're going to go with this today, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to energy, how they're connected to it. I know they are, but I'm not really sure how to navigate that. So I'm wondering where do we start with this today?
I guess we could start from the previous episode where we were talking about soul groups, where you actually incarnate with the same people over and over. You know, so sometimes you're actually meeting people and it's like that familiar feeling where you actually meet them and you're like, I know you and I know I've met you somewhere else, but you can't quite put your finger on it. So that would be something that was coming from a previous incarnation. And those are kind of fun.
All right. Well, before we even move further, you're saying that, and this was said before, but I want to make sure it's clear again, and for anybody that didn't catch us last time, the relationships we're in now, a good number of them did or could have come from a past life. It would be the same, I don't want to say the same people, but the same entities. Is it that way?
It's the same energy. So if you think that your energy before your physical form, your soul is recording everything that occurs to you in every single lifetime. And you're bringing all of that information with you as you enter your physical body and your spirit. So then these three beings are sort of coming together, and then you're meeting people, whether it's your mother or father, whether it's a partner or schoolmate, whoever it is, you're meeting them. And many times you've had a previous incarnation with them. And it could be where you both feel the same energy field. Like, I know I've met you before. I know it was prior to this lifetime. Even if they're not into, the woo-woo spiritual world, sure, they're still able to pick up on there's something here. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know it's there. So you can actually touch that and clear karma with them in a way.
Is that a product of when somebody says, I know you from somewhere? I can't quite place it, but I know you. I don't know why. Is it really that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's that. It could be even like when you resonate like with the same type of person. Say you're always dating the same fingerprint or footprint of a person, and for whatever reason they always have like dark hair, blue eyes, what have you. It's always the same and it never works out for you, right? It could be like where it's a twin flame sort of experience where the experience is so intense, the relationship is so intense, but it just never comes to full fruition. But you've engaged in previous lifetimes together. Like my father and I had a previous incarnation together. And that was kind of interesting because I was the elder, I was a general in a war, and he was a soldier, and I actually had witnessed his death. So in this current lifetime with my father, I always felt guilty and bad because I lost him in war, so it was always like trying to overcompensate for our relationship because of the effects from a previous incarnation.
Wow. Okay, so we're not actually talking about that was your father, that was the energy of your father. So is it reasonable to say that could have been another person? Wasn't your father, wasn't a figure that looks just like your father, but it was the same energy. And that being said, could it have been the same, well, things that are reincarnated? You hear, you got a person comes back as a cat, but it's the same I guess the core energy, it just takes a different
Form.
vessel, i.e. body.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
reasonably in the zone there and trying to
Yeah,
explain
because
it?
if your soul is moving through all these different incarnations, all these different lifetimes, and your soul's coming in, right? So sperm and the egg, right? They come together, and that's where your soul has made a decision to have these parents, right? You've made a choice to actually incarnate into this family. Like think of it as a deck of cards. You get 3 cards, and which card do you want to pick? And that's like your family groups, and you'll see a picture of what you're going to learn in each experience. So then from there, once you pick that, you're incarnating, right? So your soul is entering your body. So for me, the soul chakra is the 9th, 3 feet above our head. Our soul sits right here in our high heart. It's right here. And that's when your soul's actually in your physical form. And when you're in a womb, when you're in your mom's womb, you're jumping in and out of the soul's jumping in and out of the physical form constantly. So it's not fully in the womb all the time.
Now, you
And
said before that many times we'll gravitate toward a certain type of person in a relationship. Many times it's not one that supports us. And you've heard it a million times before. Pick a woman, and she might say, I don't know what it is. Aren't there any nice guys left on the planet? I keep running into the same ones. The same ones are this. And, she'll list a whole bunch of things. He's a deadbeat. He's a blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
I've heard that oftentimes we do that because of our childhood and things that did not get resolved from within our childhood. Mm-hmm. And let's say that woman, again, I'm just going very hypothetical. I'm just picking, could be a man, whatever it is. There could have been challenges with her father. Let's say he left the family when she was very young. She never really got that approval from her father, and she's always still seeking it. So now she gets into these relationships. Maybe the person reminds her of her father, and she's trying to have that connection again, because what do? We gravitate toward what's familiar. I want to feel that. How is that connected to the energy, though? Because I've often heard that's why we pick those wrong choices in partners and relationships.
Well, that's a part of it because you're trying to heal the issues that you had with your parents, right? Through another person. The thing is that person that you're dating has nothing to do with your past. And that's where a lot of people get into trouble because they bring their past relationships into their present. And they say,
Yes.
because this happened to me, it's going to show up here and I'm going to get triggered, right? I'm feeling something similar. So it's a trigger. So they start like putting puzzle pieces together, that don't fit. They actually don't fit together because there's 2 different individuals, 2 different soul bodies, 2 different physical bodies. So, and they're searching or trying to repair or mend their parental relationships through their limiting beliefs, their programmings and their conditionings, through another person. And that's not very healthy.
100%. Okay, so now armed with that and armed with harnessing the power of energy, let's change this up now and find the right person that supports you. Could be your life partner, whatever, using energy. Is there a way to do that?
Absolutely. And it's the most important.
I'm listening.
The most important chakra is the heart chakra. So most of us come from survival with our relationships, which is the first chakra, or we come from like our analyzer, in our head. Like we have this like 10-page list of what we want in a person. Well, who is going to satisfy that perfection picture? It's impossible, right? So, but if you come from your heart space and open up through your heart, you're just going to allow whatever experience is coming towards you to happen. So you're actually inviting it to you. You're drawing it through, almost through a manifestation in a way, but it's more of an allowing and permission because a lot of people push relationships away or they'll, sort of sabotage them because that poor little heart got hurt or injured at one point. So it got squished, and then they build a heart wall. So we don't really grow from that because the wall creates resistance and doesn't allow people to like penetrate our space energetically because we're afraid of being hurt. Because again, we're going to our past experiences where we were hurt once and we don't want that to happen again. But we have to actually be willing to have heartbreak in order to find the love of our life or our soul partner or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. All right. So that being said, you need to release, I would assume, you got heartbreak. If you're still holding on to it, even though you think you're done, you're probably not. If it was a bad breakup, and you could be in a current relationship that doesn't really support you. You could even be dating some people. They're not the one, but they got they're out there, whatever. Do you need to release a lot of that before your heart chakra can radiate and draw to you what is right for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you can't do anything at like 99%. It has to be at 100%. And if you're not healed, if you don't let that information go, you're bringing or going into a relationship with like codependency, neediness, control energy. You're bringing in all these sort of very toxic energy fields into the space through your auric field, right? So you're actually displaying that out. And it's funny because those filters that you have there, you usually sort of put a veil over it, right? When you first meet that person, you're like, "Oh, I'm perfect. I'm this. I'm that. I'm easygoing." Next thing you know, 4 months later, it's like, "Wow!" It's just like a whole different person because they've been sort of cloaking themselves and they haven't been authentic. But when you're coming from your heart chakra, you're fully authentic. You can't hide.
But you don't know it. I think that's you as an individual don't know because you've buried it so much. Your subconscious is at play. Like to your point, you could have been 3 years old and you didn't feel safe. Let's say you didn't feel the same kind of love that maybe you needed to get as a child. So that's sitting there. Now you're an adult. Now you're trying to navigate relationships. With what you do, is it possible to clean this stuff up energetically?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's just acknowledging or saying yes to it or validating it is the first step, really, when it comes in, whether it's a relationship with your brother, an ex, even divorces, that's a whole other world. But how can you have a divorce like through love? How can you do it in a beautiful way? Why does it have to be ugly? So that would be coming from heart chakra space. But you can absolutely clear, I'm going to say clear cords with people, because if you have a cord that's as big as a sewer pipe coming out of your throat, that's connected to somebody, there's toxicity there. And if there's, say, a relationship where the person left you, like for no reason, they totally ghost you, you actually might have a cord hanging out of your auric field. And that's why you never feel like you're whole again, because you've not healed that. But through energy work and seeing what chakra the energy's stuck in, you can actually heal it and clear it so you can move forward.
And again, can't see the cords. You don't even know that you might be connected. And then there's that F word that's it's gonna trickle back in here. There is forgiveness.
Oh, forgiveness. There's forgiveness.
Right?
Yes. Forgiveness, I would say. I was going to say foreign energy because that's really hard. Yeah, really hard to see in your space. But forgiveness is part of letting go. Yeah. And how can you realize that you're just having an experience? It doesn't have to be positive or negative. Most of us like to categorize things, right? We love to put it in a category, a file cabinet, what have you, but if we allow things just to be and say, all right, I had an experience with this individual and I learned a lot. So that's just going to take me a next rung to my ladder. That way I can learn even more in my next relationship.
Okay. So great point you bring up there. Are we here to create and learn? Is that essentially why we're here?
I think we're here to love. I think we're here to love authentically through creation and learning.
That's a soundbite right there. I'm going to take that and use that. Because I never thought of it that way, but I do know that everybody wants love. Love is, the answer. Love is highest vibration, or I got that. But I never thought of it as that's why we're here.
It's why we're here, because if we were in a different society sort of format, and we were able to love authentically everyone we came in contact with, it would be so different, right? Because I could love you the way I choose to without any sort of conditions on it, and I could have that with my partner, I could have that with my child, my coworker, but there's so many different agendas out there, it gets confusing because we get into the ego, and the ego distorts love. It makes it conditional rather than unconditional. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but in my journey, this is my mantra. I didn't make this up. I don't know who did, but maybe I took pieces of it. But it is just what you said. Love everyone, trust few. Unfortunately, I have to say that because that's what I experienced in my journey, in many above and beyond all of that. And always do the right thing for all. We can always say, well, yeah, I did the right thing. No, that was to benefit yourself, the greater good. But love all.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can walk in and get a cup of coffee at a Starbucks and the barista did a great job. Say it. Don't be afraid. We're so afraid in our society of being judged of like, oh, the creeper over there. Even to say and mean it when you say it, that, oh, this coffee's fantastic today. By the way, your hair looks great. I don't know if you changed it or whatever, but it totally fits your face. Be genuine about it. But you can show that, like you said, you can show love in any way, all the time. We just don't do it for many different reasons.
Absolutely, absolutely. And nowadays, with even like social media, we have this filter, right, of our lives in a way, and we're trying to project this specific look, and
everything's a filter. Now everything
everything
from the pictures to what we put out there. Because let's be honest, don't BS. You're filtering what people are seeing. You want them to see a certain side of you, blah, 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 blah. Everything is filtered. I never really thought of it that way.
Yeah, and that's really hard in the dating world because you're doing everything through a filter, you're sharing those pictures, and then when they meet you in real life, they're like, that's not who I was attracted to.
Right.
So it's that inauthenticity, and it has to do with insecurity and vulnerability, right?
And you're not being yourself, not even just through the filtered pictures, but you want somebody, most people want them to think they're something they're not. Then, of course, the filter, when you're scrolling in a feed and you compare, and I always say comparison steals joy. Don't do it. Bad idea. Exactly. Chords. You mentioned that before. Are there ways that, I mean, certainly somebody connects with you to get that done, but are there ways to just us energetically cut cords? Is there things that we can do?
What I usually recommend is healing cords, not necessarily cutting, because they can be intergenerational. They can come through, the soul family, that soul group we were talking about earlier. Why can't they just be healthy instead of cutting them? So to cut a cord is very hard because the minute you think of that person, the minute you send a signal, vibration, say to your ex or whoever, you're creating a cord immediately. So how can it just be a healthy cord? So instead of that sewer pipe, how can it be very thin and golden, where you're transmuting neutrality to the other individual instead of trying to sever? Because no matter how many times you try to sever, they can cord you or you can cord them just with a thought, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. And I wish it didn't.
Yeah, like I know. It's crazy,
because
but
it's so easy.
It's so easy, but you don't want your aura looking like Swiss cheese. You know what I mean? Because the holes in your aura from people like draining your energy or feeling just like, like low vibration, if it's a thin golden cord, no one's really going to be able to affect that. It'll stay thin.
Is it really, a product of a golden cord, or I'm going to use the F word, the filter word again here, in that you're always going to be connected somehow, just a thought. But what about if the cord, go back to the pipe analogy, where you filtered what's going through the pipe or the cord, you filtered it so it's not toxic, and then also there's a filter for you that you put on coming back from that person. They may be nasty, thinking bad things, whatever it is, filtering that out. You're still connected. Does that? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're filtering through your auric field, right? Your 12th auric layer is your last membrane, and that's where you're sort of putting a sense of protection, I guess I'll call it, in that
Okay,
membrane, where
sure.
the daggers can't come through, or the bombs that someone's throwing at you, or the flames, whatever they want to throw at you because they're angry. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that can't come through that veil, but you're holding your space, but you're doing it through neutrality, but you never want a big cord. You never want a 6 to 8 inch cord with anyone because that means like that you're controlling somebody or they're controlling you or they're literally draining your life force energy,
Hmm.
like where you're physically being drained. And that's not healthy because you could feel it to some degree as in lethargic sort of slow energy. But for you, it's not a healthy relationship. It's creating sort of a toxic environment there. And if
Sure.
say that you're corded in your throat, you might have thyroid issues, or lymphatic systems, or your teeth might start bothering you, because the cord's been there for so long. The hardest thing is to cut the large part of the cord in order to put a healthy cord in. That's probably the most challenging. Like I like to use a lightsaber or a chainsaw or something like that and just try to like remove the old and put something new in there. It's like all replacement.
Well, because as you said before, if you're connected to them, where there could be some negative, the you're always going to be connected. And
Yeah.
I never even considered that even a thought creates a cord. Never
Yep.
even when you think of it that way, holy blank. Like
Yeah.
we're like puppets. We've got cords all over us that whether we're allowing it or not. Um,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you work with someone, and I'm going to try to abolish the phrase "cut the cord," but when you manipulate or regenerate,
Yeah.
um, are you able to, in somebody's auric field, take care of all of that in a session or a few?
Absolutely. It could be done in one session. Usually I see it right away, instantly. Like I had a session yesterday and the guy's brother came flying in and he would not shut up. So I had to actually move him out of his auric field so we could do the session. But I healed that space so he wasn't given permission to come in any further. So we created a boundary, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
How do
So
you prevent negative chords from coming your way? Is it a product of you allow it, or can it be done with not even your permission?
you want to set intention that no one's allowed to enter your energetic field without your permission. So that goes for entities, that goes for relationships, that goes for negative, people that are throwing you negative energy, maybe a coworker, but you want to set the intention that no one has permission to enter your auric field or your energy field.
And once you set that intention, how good is that? How long is that good for?
I mean, for me, it's like as soon as I ground that intention sort of into the earth, it's solid. It's solid
Wow.
until I become unconscious about it, I would say. The minute you become unconscious, because you're leaving your body a little bit, right, when you're unconscious. So that's when then you're allowing people to come into your space again because you've actually sort of zoned out a little bit.
Wow. We're out of time. I could keep going. This is like super cool. And validation for me, I've heard little bits and pieces, chords and such,
Mhm.
but you shine so much clarity on all of this and make it so easy to understand and realize for all of us what we got to do, to
Yeah.
live a better life, live the life we want to, and have those relationships that serve us. I'll never forget somebody said to me in a life change situation some time back, and they said, realize it. The people that you're talking about don't serve you anymore. And when I
Yeah.
heard that, it sounded dirty. It sounded like,
Mhm.
oh, king on the hill, be gone with you. You don't serve me, neither do you. But then once I sat with it, it was like, yeah, things have changed. That
Yeah.
doesn't work anymore. I don't
Yeah.
serve you, you don't serve me, and it's time to move on.
Yeah.
That's the way life is, ebb and
Yeah.
flow.
You give permission. You give permission for change. That's
How do we make some of those changes connecting with you? What's the best way to find you?
Best way to find me is at my website, energyworkandhealing.com. I also have a podcast under the same name on Spotify.
Very cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, Your superpower is making this easy to understand in a no BS kind of way. And some can say, well, it's woo, it's a little BS-y. No, crystal clear what needs to get done, within relationships, and certainly with the chords. And thank you for the love comment.
Yeah.
Like that is never saw it that way. Never saw it that way. While we're here to love.
Yep.
Love you.
Yep.
Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Love you too, Steve. All right.
Talk soon next time.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.